he really had to wrestle with the idea that he's in an industry where not only can that happen, but it had happened to him.
Artists be too scared to stand up for something. They scared to lose their fucking house. Or they scared to lose their record deal. I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal.
That Clive Davis and Peter Edge wanted to do was say, okay, look, we don't want to date you. I'm like, I'm still young. What are you talking about? Well, we don't want to talk about all that stuff at Sugar Hill, so they kind of gag ordered me not to talk about.
D'Angelo's death is hitting the music world hard. But if you look closer at his story, there's a darker side to what happened. One that Kanye West has been hinting at for years. Because here's the thing, D'Angelo didn't just disappear from the spotlight for no reason. His career was derailed and sacrificed. He disappeared for over a decade between Voodoo and Black Messiah, dealing with personal struggles, public pressure, and well, let's just say some very shady industry forces.
D'Angelo's manager would go behind his back and work out a secret deal with Clive Davis. The manager, knowing the history between Angie and D'Angelo, he didn't want them on the same label. So he made a deal with Clive saying that if D'Angelo comes, she needs to leave.
Now, Kanye has talked about the rituals, the humiliation, the so-called sacrifices that happen behind closed doors in the music business. And while D'Angelo wasn't literally sacrificed, some believe the industry sabotaged him for refusing to play by its rules. And the story gets even shadier once you realize that D'Angelo's former partner, Angie Stone, started exposing all this and even named names right before she died earlier this year in a bizarre car crash.
At the end of the day, after 40-something years in the business, I'm like, well, why? Where are my royalties going? Because I'm not getting this. Come to find out, Universal Music has been receiving all my royalties.
D'Angelo burst onto the scene in the mid-90s with Brown Sugar, and he changed the landscape of soul music forever. He wasn't just another R&B singer. He brought the 70s soul vibes into the 90s in a way nobody else was doing. Then came Voodoo in 2000, and everyone was obsessed. By this point, it was clear that D'Angelo was one of the most talented musicians of his generation. And you know what made it even more impressive? D'Angelo did it on his own terms. He played most of the instruments himself, poured his heart into every note, and refused to just put out hits the industry wanted.
Some people do want to put you on that pedestal, like you are the spokesperson for all black people. They're depending on you, and they're counting on you. It's enough just navigating and coping through the change in your life that happens when you become a celebrity or somebody that is, quote unquote, famous. Just that within itself is a huge paradigm shift.
But that authenticity was also what put D'Angelo at odds with the system. The music industry doesn't really reward people who don't compromise. They want control. They want artists who follow the formula. Flashy parties, the sexy songs, the image management. And D'Angelo wasn't about that. He was deeply religious, spiritual even, and he wanted his music to reflect that. And that's when the trouble began. So we've all heard about people like Diddy, and others who throw these industry parties, make deals, and expect artists to join the inner circle. Well, allegedly, they wanted D'Angelo in their club badly, but he refused. He did not want to play the game. He didn't want to compromise his beliefs. Even Angie Stone hinted at this in one of her latest interviews and said that years after their breakup, she found out some shady stuff about what D'Angelo was allegedly pressured to do.
Of course, D'Angelo and I were very good friends. But I need for you to know that as wonderful as that friendship has been, it came with a lot of challenges. And I'll tell you the nature of the industry based on a secret that I recently found out from someone who is credible. That let me in on some things that I didn't know even up until lately. And I have to tell you, it was shocking just to find out. But in any event, I will share them with you and let you know the devil don't play fair. No, this is not Angie Stone's life story, but what it is.
Now, we don't know if D'Angelo got pulled into that freaky world or if he shut it down before they could get to him. But we do know that during that time, he spiraled. Substance use, weight gain, arrests. People saw the fallout, but most never connected it to the pressure D'Angelo was under. And it wasn't just personal struggles, it was systemic. Some insiders have hinted that executives tried to lure him into situations where he'd have to compromise. Think Diddy's parties and high-profile collaborations that weren't about music, but about control. And this is what people mean when they talk about industry sacrifices. The industry doesn't need to take someone out physically. They can drain you, humiliate you, and erase you from the spotlight if you don't comply. And that's what Kanye has been warning for years, and naming celebs who were put through this. The rituals, the punishments for voicing your opinion, the way they make an example out of artists who refuse to fall in line. D'Angelo walked into the industry with revolutionary talent and came out changed. It was obvious that something had happened behind the scenes that made him not want to be a part of that world. And then when you think about what Angie Stone went through, it gets even darker. Because just when Angie finally started naming people who wronged her and stole from her, she died in that strange car accident. Angie had been speaking out against the industry in the months and weeks leading up to her death, specifically calling out and Universal Music Group.
After 40-something years in the business, I'm like, well, why? Where are my royalties going? Because I'm not getting this. Come to find out, Universal Music has been receiving all my royalties, all my mechanicals. They've taken pretty much everything. They've stolen, but they have taken all the monies that were due to me. They have basically absorbed in that company. And even though there's several class action lawsuits, people that were working on my behalf never even registered the songs. All the songs that I've done, I'm only coming to find out they were not properly registered by the companies that I signed over to. People that were supposed to do their due diligence. So I am truly a walking testimony that God has carried me all this time. Because if you only knew how much money they have taken from me, how much they have stolen from me, monies that I'm supposed to be, I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made, supposedly. But there are key people.
Angie refused to stay silent, and suddenly she was gone, just 7 months before D'Angelo passed. So when you connect D'Angelo's struggles with Angie Stone's warnings and untimely death, you start to see a pattern. The industry takes advantage of artists, especially Black artists, and pressures them to compromise their values so they're easier to control. And when they refuse, they derail their career, blacklist them, or worse. D'Angelo was deeply religious and wanted his music to reflect his faith and personal beliefs.
When I first heard your music, the first thing I said was, this nigga had been in a black church somewhere and been in a Pentecostal church somewhere.
That's right.
And so I was not at all surprised to find out when you hit that groove where you had come from. But just talk about that experience.
It totally informs everything that I do. When I go out on the stage, I bring that with me. It's the thing about everyone has their own way of reaching that place. But my way has always been that. Because I feel like when I come on the stage with that authority from that source, there's nothing that can touch that. And a lot of times before we go out on stage, pretty much every time, we pray. Me and the Vanguard, we pray. And before we start a prayer, I sing an old spiritual song from way back in the woods, you know.
You're singing this in your prayer circle?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we start off with a song, and we get in the spirit, then we pray, then we go out there.
Put you on the spot.
But the industry had other plans for D'Angelo. They wanted hits, image, and sexualized content, not a man singing about Jesus or staying true to his heart.
All the women went crazy, wanting to touch and feel on him and pull at his stuff. They will pull his shirt so hard that it would choke him. So we decided we would put slits in the back of his t-shirts. So when they pull it, it'll just come off easily and not choke him to death.
Now remember how Kanye said that artists literally have to sign contracts where it says they're not allowed to sing or rap about Jesus or anything spiritual? Well, allegedly, they asked D'Angelo to sign one of those contracts.
Literally signing a contract and selling our souls. They got contracts out there that say you can't say Jesus. When we was working on this album, people used to be coming over the studio just to say Jesus as loud as they wanted to. You can say Jesus in your studio.
There's a part in a Rock Nation contract that says that people are not allowed to sing about Christ. So I'll be wondering, I'll be like, yo, God, why? Why have you swung my sword?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you came in the game with Jesus walks.
Like, why? There's a part.
Now, when people hear Illuminati in the music world, they think secret societies and literal sacrifices. But in reality, it's often just a metaphor for the invisible power structure controlling the industry, the executives, managers, and contracts that dictate what artists can say, how they look, and even what they can sing about. And D'Angelo's story fits perfectly into that framework. High-pressure parties, exclusive circles, and contracts demanding compliance. This is all part of the industry's rituals. Refuse to play along, and you face isolation, humiliation, or career derailment. At the end of the day, D'Angelo wasn't just a talented musician. He was a man trying to navigate an industry that punished his integrity. For decades, he resisted the system, and the price he paid was high. Blackballing, long hiatus, public scrutiny, and rumors of pressure behind the scenes. And when you combine that with Angie Stone's warnings, her sudden death, and Kanye's revelations about industry rituals, it's clear that this industry is way darker than what most people imagine. It's not about literal sacrifices, but about the symbolic ones that the industry demands from those who won't compromise. Creative freedom, mental peace, career momentum, all of that can be stripped away if you refuse to join the club. And yet, D'Angelo leaves a legacy that can't be erased. His music, from Brown Sugar to Black Messiah, continues to inspire and influence. As one fan put it on X, D'Angelo dropped Brown Sugar, then had writer's block for years. Then came Voodoo, went through so many personal struggles for over a decade after. Then came Black Messiah. His life and work are a testament that the best and most beautiful creations are still possible after seasons of difficulty. Thank you for these lessons, D'Angelo. But D'Angelo's story also serves as a warning. In the music world, talent alone isn't enough. Stand your ground and you might pay the price, even if it takes decades for the cause to fully show. The industry is brutal, and even the most talented, spiritual, and uncompromising artists can pay a heavy price for standing their ground. Well, now I want to hear your thoughts on all this. Were D'Angelo's career struggles just bad luck, or part of a larger pattern of sacrifices in the industry? And with Angie Stone dying just months before him, does it feel like more than a coincidence? And with Angie Stone dying in the same year, does it feel like more than a coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't miss out on this next story.